Welcome back everyone, I'm Tiffany, and before we jump into today's video, I just want to let you know that I really enjoyed making the apartment tour that I put out last week, and my roommates and I are working on part 2 where we talk about some of the more logistical things like how much we pay for rent, what neighborhood are we in, and all those fun things. So if that's something you're interested in, keep an eye out for that. Other than that, I am just enjoying my time off of school and really focusing on, you know, my career. Hopefully that is some sort of content creation. And I started a TikTok, so go ahead and follow me on that if you want to. I just love lemonade. Yeah, right now my username is @currytiff3. I wanted currytiff because that's what I use on everything, but it turns out that I had a Musical.ly account that switched over to TikTok, so the username currytiff is taken, and since I already changed my username, I had to wait 30, it's a whole thing. So eventually I'll be currytiff, but for now I'm currytiff3. And then on top of, you know, YouTube, TikTok, my best friend Laura and I, as I mentioned in the description of some of my past videos, started a podcast. It's called Mindfully Climbing, and we focus on wellness, worthiness, and all things womanness. So if that's something you're interested in, we post every Sunday morning on all podcast platforms, and it's actually been so fun to do, and I'm excited to continue it. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. And so let's hop into today's video. So what exactly is zero waste? There's so many terms in the environmental community nowadays. There's a lot of buzzwords, and I hope to provide, you know, as always, education about environmental topics. So let's break it down. I look at zero waste as a lifestyle. It's when you know, strive to live in a way that creates as little waste as possible. The term zero waste can be kind of misleading because there is no one who truly creates zero waste. I mean, it's inevitable that as humans, like, we have to create waste. Even if you were living in the woods and you only live directly off the land, you would likely create some sort of waste. So there's a lot of environmentalists that are advocating for a name change, or to call it less waste movement or something along those lines, and I can totally get behind that because it can seem daunting to want to make a change and then have a movement be called zero waste, and it's so far from the way that most of us live, it seems impossible to achieve. So zero waste is simply just living a less wasteful lifestyle. What exactly is a waste audit then? When you embark on this journey of becoming a less wasteful person, you want to live in a more eco-friendly way and, you know, support our natural resources. One of the first things that environmentalists recommend is doing a waste audit. And what that is you track your waste output for a certain amount of time, whether that's a week, a few weeks, or a month. You know, some sort of block that will give you a good look at how much waste you're putting out. And then after you're done tracking that waste, you look back and analyze what areas of my life could I change, what are the most easiest switches that I can make today, and really how much waste am I creating that is avoidable. Why does this even matter? The less waste we create, obviously the less impact we are going to be having on our ecosystems, and the less reliance we're going to have on our natural resources, which inevitably means that our oil supply, our wood supply, our bamboo supply, everything that we rely on from the earth is going to last for so much longer the less we use of it. And that's where we get the term sustainable from. If we're using resources in a sustainable way, we can support population growth and our communities, rather than one country like America using 25% of the resources and leaving 75% for the rest of the world to use. You know, I'm just throwing numbers out just to give you an idea of why this is important. The less we use, the more there is for everyone else, and the more there is for future generations, and the higher quality life we're going to live. Also, creating less waste generally means that you're relying less on materialistic things to bring you joy, and that can never be a bad thing. Okay, so let's get into the process of how I did my zero waste audit for a week. The first step was to change nothing about how much waste I create, which was very difficult because as I started collecting my waste, obviously I'm becoming more aware of things that I didn't need to create, I didn't need to use, but the whole point of a waste audit is to take a very honest look at your lifestyle. And so if you're, you know, kind of cheating the system, you're not getting what you could have out of it. So the first step is to change nothing. You're just collecting trash. Okay, the next step that I did was organize my waste into different categories. I wanted to be able to track different areas of my life so that when I analyze it all, it would be easier for me. So I did 3 different categories. I did compostable / organics, which would be like food waste, things that can be decomposed and reused for other organic materials. The second category was recycling, and the third was landfill or just straight up trash. And once I got that set up, then I just started collecting my waste every day. I would, you know, if I got a Starbucks cup, I would wash it out and then put it in my recycling and put the straw in the trash. And I continued that for 7 days straight. I kept my bags in my room in the corner so that they were separate from my roommates. And the one tricky part about like the bulk of the waste collection was that obviously I live with my best friends, and so we share groceries. And so my rule of thumb was if I finished, you know, the oat milk carton, and I was going to be the one to put it in the trash, then I put it in my waste audit collection, if that makes sense. Because we were all using it, I wanted to make sure I was looking at my lifestyle without like skewing it towards like all of our lifestyles, but also not excluding anything that I used. So that was the most tricky part, but I think I found a good way to balance it out. The other tricky thing was if I was out and about and created trash, I did have to obviously keep it with me. And most of the time I have a backpack or a purse with me, so fat straw or a wrapper, I had to put it in my bag to take home with me. And you know, if that grosses you out or, you know, you don't want to do that, I would suggest keeping like a Ziploc bag with you that can fit in your backpack or purse so that it's like sanitary and you still are counting it. The other way you could do this without like physically collecting your trash is to make a list and write out every single piece of waste that you had. But I do think that seeing the trash at the end of the week in front of you and really getting like a physical sense of how much you created is important in this process. But if you need to make a list, go ahead and do that. And at the end of 7 days, the last part of this process was to analyze my waste and see where I could change my lifestyle choices and things that were sort of unavoidable, and take an overall look at how much waste I'm creating on a daily and weekly basis. So to start the analysis, I counted every item in each category, and then I went ahead and weighed each category on its own. So I took my landfill bag and I weighed it, and then I took my compost bag and I weighed it, and I took my recycling bag and I weighed it, and then I really got to look at the data and get into like the nitty-gritty of it all. So how much waste did Tiffany Curry actually create in 1 week? In my compost category, I created 20 pieces of waste. These included things like leaves off of my plants that were shedding, you know, fast food bags that could be composted, facial tissues, food skins, strawberry tops, onion skins, things like that. In total, this was my smallest category of waste, and it amounted to 8.4 ounces in weight, so about half a pound, including the paper bag that I stored it in. In my recycling category, I had 30 pieces of waste. They included things like a wine bottle, lots of Starbucks cups, cereal boxes, milk cartons, you know, cardboard boxes, you know, paper bags that had fast food in them but didn't get tainted by the food. And in total, my recycling category amounted to 2 pounds, 10.3 ounces. So almost 3 pounds of recycling waste in 1 week. And then the last category, my landfill or trash category, was my biggest, unfortunately, and I had 38 pieces of waste in there. It included things like straws, black plastic, because we can't recycle that here in Minneapolis, plastic wraps that couldn't be recycled, lots of receipts, and a few wrappers from food. And my landfill weight totaled to 1 pound, 2.6 ounces. So it did weigh less than my recycling, but I had more items in the landfill category. And because a lot of these landfill items won't get reused, it is important that that was a category that I focused on reducing. So my total weekly waste amounted to 4.33 pounds, and personally I thought it was going to be a lot more, but it could have been that I was very aware of the fact that I was doing a waste audit and was avoiding things that would have been waste, and there's always room to improve no matter what your weight is. And I took the 4.33 pounds and I said, if I created this much waste for the entire year, 52 weeks, it would have amounted to 225 pounds roughly, which is a big amount. I mean, it's good that, you know, 2/3 of it would hopefully get reused either in the composting process or the recycling process, but there are issues with both of those systems. We won't get into it today because that's a whole nother conversation, but regardless, 225 pounds is a lot of waste, and I wanted to look into ways to reduce this. So what kind of lifestyle changes could I make to reduce the amount of waste that I personally put out? There were 3 main things that I noticed that were very avoidable, and that included eating at home more. A lot of my waste, especially in the trash and recycling category, came from eating out, and obviously a lot of that waste comes from like menus and coasters and straws and straw wrappers, and all of that stuff could be avoided if I made home cooked meals more often. I do enjoy eating out, but perhaps finding a way to balance some of that waste would be better. If I could bring a Tupperware to the restaurant to pack my food in when it's time to go, if I have leftovers, that would be good. And also making sure to bring a reusable straw into restaurants so I don't have to use a plastic one, things like that. The second thing that I noticed was that I had a lot of coffee cups, and those could be avoidable if I can find a coffee shop that will allow me to use reusable cups. Because I have a bunch at home, but I do go to Starbucks, and right now they're not taking reusable cups because of COVID. So if I can find a coffee shop that will take them, I could go there, or I could make coffee at home. So that's a very easy switch and something I really am looking into, because that's a lot of plastic waste, and plastic lasts for a very long time. So if I can reduce that, that's going to be a huge impact on my footprint. And then the third thing, and probably the smallest thing, was using handkerchiefs and towels to blow my nose and wash my face, because, you know, paper products obviously come from trees and they're not the worst waste that I could put out. I mentioned plastic being bad, but, you know, if I can avoid it, I can and I should. So I didn't create a lot of waste from blowing my nose or washing my face, but it was something very easy that I thought I could switch up. Obviously I have a cat, and she poops in the litter box, and I have litter, so I'm curious to know if any of you have any zero waste solutions to that. Oh, I forgot to mention too, I didn't track like my toilet paper use, because when I was looking into zero waste, a lot of zero wasters just buy toilet paper that comes in like paper packaging, or they have a bidet. So yeah, I think it would be interesting to track my water waste. I'm not exactly sure how I would do that. I would obviously have to include my food, because a lot of our water waste is tied to our food and what we eat, but that's for another day. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I covered it well. I tried to make this video as informative as possible, but also kind of interesting. So if you're interested in doing a waste audit, I highly suggest it. I thought it was gonna be more complicated and scary than it actually was, and I got a lot of good information out of it. So if you're looking to be more eco-friendly, or you know, you're an up-and-coming zero waster, I definitely recommend this. And even if you don't think that this is something you're interested in doing, just paying attention to the waste that we create every time you go to throw something away, you know, acknowledging that we're not throwing it away. It's going somewhere, it's just out of sight, out of mind. So that's all I can recommend. And you know, like I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, zero waste is kind of misleading, and I don't want anybody to feel, you know, extra guilt or stress about not being perfect in their journey to being more environmentally friendly. I think that we're all doing the best that we can with the knowledge that we have. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.